While there are many factors like supply and demand that affect pricing of homes, Airbnb is a major contributor to the rising home prices in cities. Despite its impact on the housing market, the platform frequently manages to evade any regulatory measures. DC is implementing restrictions. Florida is considering discontinuing investments, and New Orleans is pursuing a complete ban. Nationwide, legislators are not happy with Airbnb. Established in 2008, the short-term rental platform has been the subject of several critical research papers that have criticized it for increasing house costs, changing employment trends, and destroying municipal tax income. A new analysis from the Economic Policy Institute tries to fully enumerate these community effects and assess the benefits, if any, cities get out of the deal. To effectively balance the advantages and drawbacks, the study's author Josh Bivens argues, municipalities should consider Airbnb as equivalent to traditional hotel operations and regulate it in a similar manner. It becomes a straight conflict between whose interests you care more about, long-term residents of the city or those that visit it, Bivens said. What renters lose since Airbnb enables property owners to transform part of the existing housing supply into short-term rentals, resulting in its most significant observed impact on housing costs by reallocating units that might otherwise have been used for long-term housing, subsequently increasing rent prices across entire neighborhoods. The urban areas examined in these studies are typically high-cost coastal cities with frequent tourist traffic. Bivens was surprised as to how the early expansion of Airbnb into cities has had a measurable impact. A different study by the University of Massachusetts Boston's Department of Economics identified a direct link between the spread of Airbnb and housing costs in Boston. It discovered, with every 12 Airbnb listings per census tract, asking rental prices rose by 0.4%. This theory was further supported by another study published on SSRN, which used American Community Survey data to discover that every 10% hike in Airbnb listings within a U.S. zip code corresponded with a 0.42% rise in rental rates and a 0.76% increase in home values. Building on this, David Wachsmuth, a professor of urban planning at McGill University, applied the same analytical model from the SSRN study to New York City data. Professor Wachsmuth found that in New York City, Airbnb contributed to a 1.4% surge in rental prices between 2015 to 2017. Determining the exact proportion of housing price increases due to natural market trends versus Airbnb's influence is difficult. In Boston, researchers from the University of Massachusetts noted that a 1 standard deviation rise in the number of Airbnb listings in comparison to the total housing units is associated with a 5.9% drop in the available rental units. This decrease, they explain, is what leads to the previously mentioned changes in rental prices. Consider the example of the Brooklyn neighborhoods Bushwick and Bedford-Stuyvesant, which experienced a 41% increase in Airbnb listings from 2012 to 2016. In these areas, average rent prices soared by approximately $131 annually. However, according to the SSRN research paper, only around $27 of this yearly increase is attributable to the presence of Airbnb. In 2020, the acquisition of vacation properties in the United States outpaced the increase in sales of existing homes by over 40% compared to 2019. A 2016 study estimated that New Yorkers faced over $600 million in extra yearly rent costs due to the surge in rental prices, largely attributed to the extensive number of Airbnb listings. While Airbnbs certainly generate some economic benefits, particularly in cities dependent on tourism, the majority of the profits are concentrated among a relatively small group of property owners. Data from inside Airbnb estimates that roughly 1/4 of hosts manage about 2/3 of all listings. Over the next decade, it's anticipated that construction efforts will fall short of fulfilling the need for affordable housing. This shortfall will greatly affect cities as more homes and apartments are removed from the market to be exclusively utilized as vacation rentals. In 2015, individuals looking for long-term accommodation in zip codes with typical increases in Airbnb listings, areas such as Pleasant Valley in the Austin area, would have encountered one Airbnb property for every 13 homes that were available for rent. In the zip codes experiencing the most significant surge in Airbnbs, like popular vacation destinations such as Sunset Beach in St. Petersburg, Florida, up to 50% of homes that could have been available were listed on Airbnb rather than being offered the long-term rental market. The research, however, indicates that two distinct types of Airbnb listings have varying effects. In zip codes where most landlords live in their property, renting out a spare room or their entire home for brief periods when they are away, there were only slight rises in housing costs. However, in zip codes with a higher number of absentee landlords, those who do not live in the homes they rent out experienced significant impact from the growth in Airbnb listings. For example, Huntington Beach, California boasts a substantial owner occupancy rate of 51%. Between 2012 and 2016, Huntington Beach experienced a 48% increase in Airbnb listings, yet the annual growth in rent prices was just 2.7%. In contrast, neighboring Hollywood has a significantly low owner occupancy rate of merely 5%, and as a result, the number of Airbnb listings surged by an average of 50% annually, and rent prices increased by approximately 6.4%. For almost a decade, Airbnb has held the position as the leading home-sharing platform globally. The company has been heavily criticized for bypassing standard rental laws and draining housing supplies in cities where rent prices were already soaring. The company has directly addressed many of its critics. Most notably, as of May 15th, it began paying hotel taxes. The company has also implemented a one host, one home policy in New York and San Francisco, restricting hosts to listing rentals at only one location to address the limited housing supply in these cities. What employees lose. When Airbnb enters a city, people opt for Airbnb's accommodations instead of hotel rooms. Part of what Airbnb is doing, especially at the beginning of its expansion, is it's displacing regular payroll jobs that are now being done by Airbnb owners, said Bivens. Hosts are responsible for the renting, and they frequently undertake or mitigate the cleaning and other service tasks that hotels typically employ staff for. Alternatively, hosts might engage third-party cleaning services, which are not required to provide the same employment benefits as those afforded to hotel staff. This is a form of economic fishing, where jobs that were traditionally part of large corporations are being spun off into more insecure parts of the economy. Additionally, municipalities with more lenient Airbnb rules could be missing out on substantial tax income. Traditional lodging entities are taxed at an average rate of 13% in the 150 largest cities. However, Airbnb is subject to varying regulations in different areas, and it is relied upon to self-disclose its occupancy and revenue figures. To be clear, Airbnb is indeed paying taxes, but it has the obligation to pay more. An analysis conducted by alltherooms.com estimated that in 2016, due to incomplete accounting and unlawful rentals, local and state governments might have missed out on $440 million in lodging taxes. Of this, $110 million could have come from the budget of New York City alone. Since then, New York City has established some of the strongest Airbnb regulations nationwide.
Tonight, the City Council is considering a bill that would require rental companies and their hosts to register with the city.
It's an effort to crack down on illegal rentals.
It has clamped down on unauthorized listings, progressed legislation mandating monthly revenue reports from Airbnb, along with sharing details about hosts and their residences. What do you think would happen if other cities implemented similar policies? Leave your thoughts below. I'd love to hear what you think. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the notification bell and subscribe for more videos.